guys, Ellie here from the garden again, and today we're doing another garden tour and I'm starting right here by the wheelbarrow. Okay, so here we are in the wheelbarrow area, but we've had a bit of trouble. So unfortunately the chickens discovered the wheelbarrow and had themselves a very good dig. Now my garlic chives are practically non-existent. Let me show you. So over here in the wheelbarrow, they've essentially mowed this down. It's not the end of the world, it will come back, but the digging did quite a bit of damage to the strawberries. So the hope is to catch any runners we've got here and then just plant them out into that space. For now, we've pulled out the golden zucchini. We'll give it another shot when spring rolls around. There's not a lot happening. The roses are dying back for now, and they are coming up for a prune. We do have a video about pruning, so if you want to check that out, feel free to. The containers on the wall, they're alive, but they're not really enjoying it up there. We'll have to fill them with something pretty. But today, we do have quite a bit happening on the seed bench. I'm just going to give you a quick run through of the seeds we've got on the bench, and I'll discuss what germinated and what hasn't. So we've got fairly good germination on our cabbage. Only one Brussels sprout has come up so far. They are notorious for being slow growers. We really don't have very much luck as far as Brussels sprouts go, but it is what it is. We'll keep trying until we get it right. We have some cauliflowers that have come up, 3 of them, and 2 peas. We did suffer some losses with the peas, but that is not the seed's fault or mine per se. The tray was positioned in a way that got in the cat's way, and they actually just decided to use these cells as their pathway, so the entire row itself didn't germinate. This particular tray, I have Fort of Giant, I've got some rainbow chard that have come up. I have one little scarlet kale that's come up. None of the others did. I've had very spotty germination with this, and they are from a reputable seed brand or store. I just find that the stuff that I've gotten from them really doesn't germinate very well. None of my dino kale came up. I'm not really surprised about that. I do, however, have some chicory plants that have come up, more than I expected, so I'm not going to really complain about that. And none of the calendulas in this tray germinated either. We have, however, managed to keep this little calendula alive, and I managed to unfortunately kill this pea. We do have a few nasturtiums that have come up, and I still haven't planted out the purple broccoli yet. So this will probably be a mission for next week, to find them a home and get them settled, along with my celery and my new lavender that my mother purchased for me. I'm not even a fan of lavender. I honestly just grow it for the bees and for the chickens. And then we do have some spring onions that have come up here at the back. Unfortunately, it has come to the end for our tomatoes. Now we do still have, I think it's about 5 or 6 little fruit here that are ripening on the vine, and we will remove them, and then we're going to sadly cut these down, but it makes space for our next crop of tomatoes. So let's start the orchard tour up front here with this perch in the same pot. We've got a lychee tree. It has some leaves, but that's it. Then we've got a fig tree in the next pot. It has no leaves. It just decided one day it was time and lost everything all in one go. Followed by a lemon tree that is still growing but still isn't producing, and I do have my doubts that it ever will. A thriving avo tree at the back corner there, and then right at the very far back you can just about see that branch over there is our apricot tree, and it has also lost all of its leaves because winter is officially here. Over on this side of the garden, our Tabascos are still doing really well, and so too our spring onions. I have come around and taken some of the weeds out of there, and I'm just going to do the echinacea quick. It wasn't my intention to stop and weed this. I was definitely more intent on giving it a tour, but this needs doing. I have a little bit of time now. It always makes me feel a little bit better once they are cleaned out, that my plants are not necessarily suffering for or fighting for root space with the unnecessaries. But at the same time, I don't weed properly. I'm not intending on pulling out all the roots here because I do feed a lot of the weeds to the chickens, and they actually really like this like clover looking weed. It's called oxalis, but they like it, and it brings them a little bit of variety to their diet. So who am I to deny them? Because I'm a little bit lazy and a lot of a softie, I do leave the roots in for them so that they can have more snacky snacks at a later stage, even if it means that it brings me more work. And it's not so bad as long as you manage to pull the weeds before they go to flower. Because once they go to flower, they actually shoot their seeds. And I didn't know they did that until Duncan showed me. And in case there was any question about whether or not the chickens really do like it, they're standing right here, waiting in anticipation. Even Pip is not too far behind. Right, so that looks a little bit better now. Let's cross over to this side of the garden. I've got the zucchini that I planted, but unfortunately it is still suffering with powdery mildew, so I am going to just harvest both of these little zucchinis, and then I'm going to pull out the plants. As for the rest of this container garden, it is growing quite well. This container that we planted together is starting to fill out. The spring onions have bounced back. There are a few weeds growing in here, but I mean, not every garden can be without all the time. That's why it's a constant process. I don't mind the weeding too much, if I'm honest. It's a little bit cathartic. Just come around and pull out the unnecessaries. Over here we have our broccoli plants, and we seem to have managed to save them from the aphids. They are plagued every now and again, and it is always good to check when you have something like this where your leaves are curly, just to go through, open them up and see if there are actually any aphids in there. In cases like this where there are aphids but there are not many, I do tend to just come around and squish them with my finger. It's gross, but it needs to be done. So whilst some of our plants are looking healthier, some of them are still being attacked by the aphids and do need to be retreated in order to rid them. Here on the opposite side to the broccoli, we have our parsley, and it is growing in an absolute abundance, which is amazing because we actually went through a bit of a parsley drought here on the homestead for a little while. So I'm very grateful to have it back. And my purpose, or my aim at least, with this parsley is just to come around, pick off a few of these larger stalks and save them and put them in the dehydrator. And that way I will have some dry parsley for the months where I don't necessarily have an abundance. Okay, so now that I've done a little bit of a harvest, and it doesn't even really look like I've taken that much, but I have, I'm going to show you the rest of what we've got going on in the garden. So firstly, we've got some beetroot over here. We've got some purple kohlrabies coming up, and over here we have our turnips. Now our turnips have sized up slightly, but they're very long, so I don't know that they're going to make the biggest bulbs, but we'll harvest them as we need them. Our little kale has started to bounce back slightly. We have a couple of volunteer tomatoes here that are going to be staked upright, and over here we have some radishes, and they are sizable radishes. Not bad at all. I think I might take another one for some salad to go with our dinner tonight. Right, so I'm just going to leave this here as we carry on with the tour, and I'll come back and fetch it just now. So over here in the lawn garden, this poor marigold has died and is going to come out. Our garlic is still going quite well, and the leaves are creating quite a nice little mulch here. So we're not complaining about that, and we do have a few marigold volunteers coming up. Over here is our pea trellis that we made. This one particular pea just refuses point blank to latch onto anything. I'll come back and faff that. But this one over here has managed to stay up and is growing quite nicely. And then hopefully it will take off. However, the kale we planted is coming along strong. And our garlic is looking pretty good. Last little section of the garden, and sadly the chickens got in here and managed to rip off the leaves of this little broccoli. This one seemed to hold up alright on its own. I am going to however need to stake them just to make sure that they grow upright and don't topple over in the wind. Then I have quite a few onions that are coming up. I don't know that they're going to size up, but there's nothing to say that they won't at the moment. And then hidden in here is our first scarlet kale that we managed to sprout. And it is going pretty well. It does seem to be more like resistant to the aphid pressure in our garden. But in all honesty, only time will tell. It may just be one of those things that the onions are warding off the aphids. I'm not sure. Again, so much needed weeding to be done, and that container, unfortunately, bar a few leaves of basil, nothing much is happening there, and I do need to come up with a better plan, because I would like to have the arch covered in some sort of vine or creeper, just because it would be pretty. Like I said, we've got some onions growing here. Some of them have sizable necks. Some of them have some sizable necks, and some of them are showing signs of bulbing. But I don't actually know what's happening. And over here we have two little kohlrabis that are managing to survive. This again was an aphid pressure issue. So what I've done is I'm just leaving them in the ground and pulling them out as I need them, knowing full well that they potentially won't size up. So while my kohlrabi hasn't been a success, at least I have a little bit of open space to plant out some of the new seeds that we've planted. And fortunately for me, my carrots are growing quite successfully, so I'm happy about that. They can grow low and slow and develop those roots this winter, and then hopefully in spring when we harvest them, we'll get some sizable carrots. As far as my hanging baskets go, the strawberries are discoloring. They're definitely feeling the effects of winter, but they are still growing, and I have full hope that they will come back stronger in the spring and we'll have a nice harvest of strawberries. Over here the nasturtiums are doing really well. Such a stunning color. I do need to come around and take some of this like dead growth off of it, and I will, but it's not a priority right now. Lastly, here is our other strawberry basket, and that one I'm going to show you up close. This is our second strawberry basket, and it has quite a cute little surprise. It has a flower, and that will essentially become a strawberry. So that's pretty cool. I'm excited about that. have one more thing to show you. If you come and look down here, we have some bok choy that came up. I didn't have very high expectations for them, but I must say, I'm pleasantly surprised to see them. So we'll see how they do. Okay guys, and that brings us to the end of our little tour. Not much to show you. It is a winter garden. It's not developing at the same rate as my summer or my spring garden would, but it is still giving us good produce, and I'm glad that you came along on the tour today. Have a fantastic weekend, guys. See you next time. Bye.